Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 6, and this will be my review for The Flash Season 6, Episode 19, which is also the new finale, otherwise titled Success is Assured. Before I do the review, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way, and I will also say a couple of things before heading into the review as well. So yesterday I was actually gonna do this video, but I didn't end up doing it, and it was like what you should do while watching this episode, because there are some like various things you should take into consideration, which I will mention in a bit. But like these are the things that I did, and it helped me like enjoy the episode a lot more than most people probably did. And to be honest, I should have really uploaded this yesterday, because I think it would have helped most of those who are disappointed at the moment. So this isn't the actual finale. You need to take that into consideration when you watch this episode. This episode is only the finale due to what's going on. And they weren't able to film episode 21 and 22. And they didn't air episode 20 because that was a filler episode, so they decided that episode 19 could serve as a decent enough finale and not 20, so they chose to end it on 19. Yes, people do have the right to be disappointed, because it serves as a decent finale, but it's not like a finale which like wraps most things up. But that's not even the writer's fault. So when watching this episode, you shouldn't watch this episode as a finale, otherwise you will leave disappointed. What I did personally when watching this episode was not thinking that it was the finale. I watched this episode with very low expectations, because not everything was going to be wrapped up. I already knew that. And I watched this episode as like a classic episode 19, like how I would normally watch a normal Flash episode. And I pretended like there would be like an episode next week where they would reveal all this stuff. So yeah, this helped me enjoy this episode a lot more. So if I talk very positively about this episode, that is why, because when you watch something when you have low expectations, you'll end up getting shocked, and then you'll end up enjoying it more than you would expect it if you watched it as a finale, in which if you watched it like it's a finale, then you would be disappointed. But yeah, anyways, spoiler alert, in case you guys haven't watched the episode, you have been warned. So this episode kicks off with Mirror Singh in that area where Eva has her chamber located, and we do see Eva in her new suit, which looks sick. I just love that shiny and mirror design it's given. It just looks really cool. But Eva does talk about how she will get revenge on Joseph, in which Mirror Singh replies, "Success is assured," which is the episode title. We then had that Caitlin side story in which Frost is about to meet Carla Tenhosser, who is Caitlin's mother. And obviously in terms of Carla Tenhosser, I am intrigued to see if Crisis prevented her from being one of those Frosties, because we know in that season 5 episode 19 the ending was that it was revealed that she is now one of those icicle people as well. So I am interested to see if Crisis has stopped that from happening. But Frost is going to the Arctic now, so this is obviously to set up Danielle Panabaker leaving due to her pregnancy at that time. But then we do have Team Flash and CCPD, and they're trying to locate Eva and Barry. Obviously, Barry cannot, do that classic city sweep due to his speed being critical. And they do meet up in CCPD due to Barry having a ton of CSI work to do. But we then have Ralph bring in that diamond that Sue gave him, and Allegra uses her UV powers, and we do see that Blackhole logo, in which they point it at the map of Central City, and they pinpoint a location on where Carver could now possibly be. So we have Barry suited up as the Flash and Ralph as Elongated Man, and they end up in this warehouse. And this is actually the warehouse where Carver keeps all his blackmail files and stuff, and his weapons, I guess. But we do have Mirror Singh using gasoline to try and burn the place down. And then we get a flashback to the night the particle accelerator exploded, And we do find out that Carver was with Eva all along, and he saw Eva getting sucked into the mirror, and he didn't try to save her, but he stole her inventions and obviously weaponized them for profit. Barry now has no choice but to protect Carver due to seeing, burning the place down and noticing that, Carver is, Eva's target. So we do have Barry and Carver talking to each other in jitters, and Carver knew that Iris was stuck in the Mirrorverse, and he shows Barry the footage in which Iris gets stuck. But he does talk about how it will be useless to save Iris due to the Mirrorverse warping the mind of a human brain, and it changes them completely, which also explains how Eva has gone insane. But Carver claims that he doesn't need Barry's protection due to him having his black hole mercenaries. But we do then have that Iris and Camilla stuff in the Mirrorverse, and we have Iris able to read things from the mirror due to her adapting into the Mirrorverse. Now this is the Mirrorverse, so I have no idea why the text and stuff isn't flipped around. That's something I want to know why. But essentially they do get this heat signature somewhere which they think is Singh's location. But we do have the black hole mercenaries in Carver's house, and we get all of them being stuck into the Mirrorverse as Eva sucks them all in one by one. But we then have Carver notice that Eva took Carver's mercenaries, and this leads to Carver having to use Barry's protection offer. But we do then have Mirror Singh trying to take Carver by saying he'll handle Carver's transfer, and Singh does actually offer Barry a deal where he says that Eva would trade Iris for Carver. But Barry is obviously considering that, and Nash does notice that Barry is up to something. So he takes his smoke bomb, and they get out of CCPD and head to Star Labs. We do then have Harry Wells appear, where he tells Nash that the real Barry would never consider a deal at that thing. And this then leads to Nash and Barry having a talk about a deal, and Barry says that he needs to save his wife, and Nash does say how do you think Iris will feel when she finds out that you traded someone's life for her, which then persuades Barry not to trade Carver for Iris. And we do then have Sue's parents appear as well, in which we find out that Carver took away his blackmail from the Dearborn family, and now they're free to go, which ends up being a lie, obviously. But we do then head to that Caitlyn story again, where her mother is now doing some tests, and Caitlyn mentions when Tenhosser looks at Caitlyn, she'll remind her of Icicle, in which Caitlyn's mother then has this nice talk with Caitlyn and mentions that that isn't the case. But we do then have Team Flash entering McCulloch Tech, and they're evacuating it so they could protect Carver. But we do find out that Sue has started working for Blackhole now. So this is so she gets closer and closer and tries to kill Carver, and Ralph is trying to, talk her out of that. Meanwhile, we have Barry and Carver going into the panic room, and this is Eva's room as well in the Mirrorverse. But we find out that this mirror contains nanites, so Eva wasn't able to get out of this mirror. But we then had the mercenaries arrive, and they all face off Team Flash. Now, I thought that these were mirror clones, but they actually weren't. Eva just made a deal with them, which was interesting, so now they're all after Carver. Now, they did say that this scene that they're talking about would be the biggest fight scene this show would have had, but I really hated the editing and stuff they did, and the fight choreographing wasn't that well done, but I do understand why, because that is meant to be, the Flash is mainly CGI focused, not proper fight scenes focused. So when you have this many people doing a normal fight scene with barely any CGI, it wouldn't be very well fight choreographed like you would have in Arrow or Batwoman and Legends, which is why it looked that way. But the editing in particular was very different, which is why I didn't like it. And it is so they condense all the fight scenes to make it look shorter, and how each person is fighting off different mercenaries at the same time. But it was still a big fight, and I did enjoy it a bit, but I just wasn't a fan of the editing and stuff. But we have seeing Warning Berry and then exploding, in which we have Eva appearing, and she had that SIG cannon on her hand. And I know many people don't like Eva, but she was just really badass in these last couple scenes. And we had her blasting Barry with it. We then had Ultraviolet facing off Allegra and Nash, and we had Allegra use that rock, in which Ultraviolet relives her worst memories again. But we had Eva enter Carver's panic room with a TV, as she can enter any reflective stuff, but Carver thinks that she can only enter and exit from mirrors. And then she threatens Carver, and we had Eva shoot some mirror pieces at Carver, but then we had Barry suited up as the Flash getting shot by the mirrors because like he moved into the way. And it was just so cool as Eva then pushes those mirrors through Barry's body from the other side, killing Carver, and it was just so sick. I don't care if I don't care if people hate Eva, but you cannot say that this scene wasn't just sick. But then the mercenaries stop fighting because Eva has fulfilled her mission, and she said that is enough for today, so she lets Barry go as well. But we then had Eva in CCPD, and she mentions that she has been kidnapped, which is why she's, missing. And she made Carver seem like a hero as well, which was weird. But she is now CEO of McCulloch Tech as well, and has access to Blackhole stuff, which I'm very interested to see what they'll do with it. But Eva framed Sue and said that Sue was the one who killed Carver. So yeah, Sue is screwed and can't go to her parents now, so she's gonna have to stick along with Ralph for a bit. And we have a Barry and Caitlin scene, and Caitlin mentions how Barry would never lose his love, although he's losing his speed. And Barry needs to use that love to, power his artificial speed force, obviously. But we had Team Flash unite, Nash, Allegra, Barry unite in CCPD, and we had Cecile and Joe come back as well. And obviously Joe is back because, Carver is gone. And they're trying to save Iris and stop Eva. But the cliffhanger was disappointing. It wasn't disappointing, so it wasn't like what I expected it to be. But it was Iris, locating where Singh is. But you have to take into account that this is a cliffhanger for episode 19 moving on to 20, not the finale cliffhanger. But it's essentially Iris getting powers, and she turns into this prismatic thing and she teleports to somewhere. So could it be that these powers only work when Iris is in the Mirrorverse? I don't know if she will have these powers when she gets out of the real world. But yeah, I am very interested to see what they will do in terms of these Iris's powers and stuff. And I'm assuming that she goes to where Singh is teleported, and that is how she finds out that she has powers. But overall, this episode was pretty good for an episode 19, but not as a finale, because nothing was really wrapped up besides the Caitlyn stuff. I just can't wait for season 7. I cannot wait to see what they will do with that. And I will obviously do more Flash videos, although the Flash season 6 has ended. And obviously I cannot wait for Stargirl, which is coming next week. But for this episode, I will give an 8.5 out of 10. And yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.